Well, I wanted to ask, what have you got coming up? What's next for you?
It's a great question. I don't know yet. I am trying to really enjoy this moment with Aftermath. I'm hoping to get to do a lot of virtual school visits and talk to kids and engage more with gun violence prevention advocacy groups in hopes of really making a difference, because this is a topic about which I'm really passionate. For me, this isn't just a book. This is, part of what I hope to contribute to a movement that is already in progress and already really helpful and important. But I have written a couple other things, and my agent is shopping them around. And like I said before, they sort of span from, I've got a picture book, an early chapter book series, and a couple of YA things. So I hope to expand out to other age ranges. I find it's the story that drives me, and the story is appropriate for a certain age group, as opposed to sitting down and saying, I want to write for this age group. It's more about the story idea comes to me, and then how can I effectively tell this story to the appropriate age group? So all I want is to get to write more books. When people say, what are your hopes for Aftermath? And, in terms of like, what does success mean to you? I always say, success would mean that they let me write another book. That's all I want. I want to get to write more books. I love telling stories, and I'm excited to get to do that some more.
Denny Villeneuve calls you and says, "Hey, we're making Arrival 2, and I need somebody to play Amy Adams' sister. Are you available? Would you consider a return to acting, or is it pretty much books and writing from here on out, you think?"
I really think it's books and writing. My hope for acting is that I think when my kids are all grown up, and maybe I'm in my 60s, 70s, 80s, I think it would be really fun to revisit acting from a really totally different angle. For now, I cannot quite imagine picking it back up. It feels like a different lifetime. I feel so completely content with my creative life right now as a writer. Never say never, obviously. But no, I don't particularly see myself returning to acting. I find writing, for me, to be so much more creative and so much more exciting. And I get to write in my sweatpants. So there's no competition there. Like, writing is definitely more fun than acting. I get to be at home. There are snacks. It's my happy place. So I hope there's a lot more writing. And then, if I become that grandma on that sitcom when I'm 80, then that's just icing on the cake.
Emily Beth, actually, this has been an absolute pleasure, and I so appreciate you.
Thank you.
I know that there's all kinds of questions I still have for you, but the good news is you're going to keep publishing. So we'll do this again, and I'll come up with all new questions.
I really hope so, and I would love to talk to you again, anytime. This has been so much fun, and I really appreciate your very thoughtful and insightful questions. It's really fun to get to talk about it.
We've got one last one for you, because this is always the closer. Note I like to end on is, if you could go back to the start of your writing career, middle, wherever you'd like, and give yourself some advice that would have made your path easier and might make easier the paths of everyone listening to us, what would you go back and tell yourself?
This is a great question, and I have a lot of different ways that I could answer, because there are so many things I wish I'd understood at the start. But I think what I wish I could have said to myself at the very beginning of my writing career is, you have value and you're a writer, whether your work is being published or not. Whether people like it or not, there is value in telling a story. And I wish I could have told myself, relax, it will happen eventually. Writing is so much, of course, about talent and ideas and hard work, but a lot of it is just about persistence. And at the beginning, when people would say to me, "Oh, you're so persistent and hardworking," I would think of that sort of as a backhanded compliment. because I wanted to be successful just because I was talented. But I see now that success, and I put that in large air quotes, first of all, is subjective, but second of all, so much of it is about sticking to it and perseverance. And I see now what a compliment that was. And so I wish I could tell my earlier self to just chill out a little bit and know that I'd get there eventually, and that the work along the way, you know, every book that I didn't sell caused me to write more books. And that in and of itself is kind of the only thing you can control. You know, every time I finished a book, I would just start another one, because what else can you do? You keep writing when you have a story to tell. And that, you know, I would like to tell the writers out there listening that there's inherent value in that, whether that story becomes a New York Times bestseller or lives in your drawer. There's so much value in telling a story. And I mean, if I had time, I would read them all. I wish I could read everything that everybody is writing all the time.
It's just the enhancement of the writer's life, if nothing else.
Exactly. Yeah, and if you share it with one other person and it resonates for them, or it, you know, it opens one person's mind, it's all worth it. You know, it's I feel like the value is in telling the story, and sometimes, like you said, sometimes the writer is the person who needs to hear the story the most. I think that was certainly the case with, you know, maybe my first book and maybe the second one, but and then you get to a point where you are telling a story that you realize definitely needs to get shared, but sometimes you're telling the story for you, and that's okay too.
All my stories are for me, and if the reader likes them, hey, that's a bonus.
I love that. I think that's probably the healthiest approach I've heard towards writing, because there's so much we can't control. We don't get to decide what happens to our story. And that's been a weird experience for me just in the past 2 weeks of Aftermath being out in the world, is the realization of, oh, wow, it's having its own life that has nothing to do with me, and people are reading it that I don't even know about, and I may never know what they thought of it, and they may not like it. And, you know, this idea of having a story that has a life so far beyond you is incredibly exciting and a little bit scary.
I always had this kind of naive notion that, like in a Sixth Sense kind of like E.T. communicating with Elliot, telepathically feeling that when a lot of people, maybe not just one or two, but, you know, thousands of people are reading your book, you would feel their reading, and there would nope, nothing. They just read it and you go on about your business.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like that idea. I love the idea that you would feel it. I wish that that could be felt. That would be very cool, especially if people are reading it and feeling positively about it.